Do you know that one song that goes, got a white boy on my roster, he be feeding me pasta and lobster? Well, I don't know what kind of Caucasian she was talking about, but it wasn't this kind. Got a white boy on my roster, he be feeding me 7-Eleven hot dogs and monsters. Dalton, have you ever even had lobster?
I don't think so.
The whole song is misleading. If you think being in a relationship with a Caucasian is all pastas and lobsters and rainbows and sunshines and good credit, you're wrong. You're wrong, because it's not.
Who wants a pasta and lobster boy anyways when you can have a good old redneck?
Got a white boy on my roster, he be feeding me 7-Eleven hot dogs and monsters. He just hit me up on Tuesday like,
What's up, old girl? Let me take you fishing.
I told him, well, I'm a little busy. He said,
Well, damn, I even rolled a little blizzy, but that's all right. You probably bitched the whole time and annoying me. I'll see you about 8:50.
Then I said, you treat me so well. He said,
When I get home, we'll go to Texas Roadhouse and then maybe get a hotel. Matter of fact, I'll stop and get us a 30 rack because we gonna raise some hell.
and I told him, well, thank you, baby.
Anything for my old lady. Well, I gotta go. The vet just called and said the dog might have rabies. Today I'm gonna tell everybody what it's like to have a hot wife and be pretty average looking.
Yeehaw, got me feeling like a cowgirl. Yeehaw, got me feeling like a cowgirl.
As you can see, old Soccer's a fan of the NPC shit.
Caucasian, yes, yes, yes. Caucasian, yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. Just because a woman gets into an interracial relationship doesn't mean that everything's is tulips, daisies, that she's getting pasta and lobster and living a hypergamous, level up, rich girl, Mrs. Cartwright life. Like, that's just not reality. Most people are average. Most people are living an average life. And interracial relationships have challenges and struggles, ups and downs, like any other relationship. It's not to be pedestalized. So shout out to them for being honest. They are pretty popular content creators on TikTok, and they're just living their life. But now I want to turn your attention to a famous interracial relationship that had all of the glitz, all of the glam, all of the money, and unfortunately ended in divorce. And that is the story between Bachelorette contestant, media personality Rachel Lindsay and the divorce she is going through with her husband. She was recently ordered to pay her husband up to $13,000 in spousal support. And before I get into some of the other things that have been going on, let me just say this, y'all. Can we keep the same energy? So this whole hypergamy, level up, level up, level up. Don't let these dusties lie to you. You need to be with a man that makes X amount of figures, X amount of money, that makes twice as much as you, whatever. Like, can y'all keep that same energy if you are promoting interracial relationships? Okay. Because I'm like, what is it with all these interracial relationships that get celebrated and nobody has nothing to say if the dude makes less money? He makes less money than her. Like, they both admit that. And listen, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. If it worked for them, it worked for them. I mean, I guess clearly it didn't. But like, just by nature, it's not necessarily bad if the man makes less money. But I'm like, keep that same energy if the man is black or white. If you are all this hypergamy, he needs to make twice as much, then why don't you have the same standards when the dude is white? And I'm talking about the ladies out there that really like to sit here and act like you are eating pasta and lobster, but you are ending up with a dude that makes pennies on the dollar. Okay, like this. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the hypocrisy. That's the biggest issue for me. And it's promoting a lifestyle that is just like not real. Okay. Now, I want to pull up a couple of documents to kind of just bring you guys up to speed as to what has actually been going on today. So, this one that was shared, Cosmopolitan, where she speaks out about the divorce. This was about 6 months after it went public. It says, Rachel Lindsay reveals her marriage with Bryan Abasolo was nowhere near as glamorous as he portrayed it. It reads, nearly 6 months after their split, Rachel Lindsay is getting candid about their marriage with Bryan Abasolo in new court documents obtained by US Weekly. She revealed bombshells from their brief marriage in a June 26 filing after he filed a motion requesting emergency spousal support last month, which says our marital standard of living was nowhere near as glamorous as Bryan portrays it to be, Rachel said in the docs. In fact, we rarely saw each other or even lived together during our brief marriage. She shared that while their season of The Bachelorette originally aired, Bryan quit his job as a chiropractor in Florida as she continued practicing law as an attorney in Dallas. The docs also claim that he eventually moved to LA in an attempt to make it in Hollywood while they were engaged. In 2018, Rachel quit her law firm and started receiving opportunities in their entertainment industry, from radio shows and podcasts to other TV gigs. Because of this, the former couple barely saw each other as she continuously traveled for work. Rachel said that she and Bryan rarely went out together and did not even go on monthly dates, adding that they didn't share a joint bank account and were each responsible for their own finances like credit cards, retirement accounts, and brokerage accounts. Before they moved to LA in 2020, as Rachel became a correspondent for Extra, they split all of the household expenses. If the pair had to travel, their trips were either sponsored or they would pay for their respective expenses. For the docs, Rachel claims Bryan makes an average of $13,430 per month, while she makes $61,019, and her monthly expenses exceed $49,500. I am not flush with cash, and he believes me to be, and I certainly cannot pay his attorneys $75,000 to litigate our uncomplicated divorce, she said in the latest documents. If I did so, I would not have sufficient funds remaining to pay my own counsel. This is all truly. Now this report came out recently and gets a little bit more details as to what this is looking like. So it says she recently was ordered to pay her ex $43,000. If you go down right here, it says according to court documents obtained by In Touch, Rachel agreed to transfer to Bryan a total of $43,648 from the community estate. The funds were considered an advanced distribution of community property. And this was shortly after he was awarded $13,000 a month in temporary spousal support from Rachel. Bryan mentioned that he needed $35,000 to go towards his legal fees and another $5,000 to pay a forensic accountant. Prior to being awarded spousal support, Bryan claimed he only brings in around $1,300 a month in income. He claimed to have made sacrifices in his career over the years to help Rachel build hers. And he goes on to say he basically placed his career on hold as a chiropractor, and he moved twice for Rachel's career. These moves are detrimental to his business, and this is essentially why he is needing money from his ex-wife. And so, I mean, we know how this goes. They're fighting over money. Rachel did issue a statement where she mentioned that she actually does regret not signing a prenup. And then when she went on to describe why she didn't sign a prenup, she basically said he just wasn't in agreement with it. And she did not want to make a fuss. She did not want to make a mountain out of a molehill. And so she just kind of let it slide, and not thinking that they would actually divorce. And so, in retrospect, hindsight is 2020, after she is now having to pay all this money. She's like, man, I should have written a prenup. But of course, you don't get married with the idea that you are going to divorce. Now, why am I saying this? What's the whole point of reviewing this entire story? Well, it goes back to what I said before. Just because a Black woman marries a white guy or marries a non-Black man does not automatically ensure success. A person at the end of the day, irregardless of race, still has to have healthy relationship dynamics. The two have to learn to become one. And it's interesting in the earlier article where she basically was talking about their marriage, and she's like, hey, we barely saw each other. They had separate finances. They weren't together a lot. They barely went on dates. It's like they kind of still lived very separate lives based upon what she said. And, we will never fully know what happened within their marriage. But what I can say is that if you get married, even if you have the most publicized, beautiful marriage, they both seem like they have money at some level. He was a chiropractor. She was a lawyer and has gotten a lot of money from media. They're okay, right? Financially, they're doing okay. Yet and still, if you don't have relationship skills, okay, if you have issues, that's going to come out. It doesn't matter if you divest. Unfortunately, in some cases, it can cost you a lot. It can cost you a lot to divest if it is done. But again, there aren't necessarily the tools necessary in place to help ensure that that relationship can continue to thrive. So, of course, it's unfortunate to see things break up so fast. I mean, like I said, 4 years, that's pretty fast. Being in a relationship with a white guy or a non-black person doesn't automatically mean that it's going to be glamorous. It doesn't mean that you're getting pasta and lobster, and it sure doesn't mean that the relationship is going to be sustainable. If that were the case, then we would never see interracial relationships divorce, but we see it all the time. I know some black women love to say that, oh, well, when black women marry white men, then their divorce rate goes down. We have to remember that less than 1% of white men right now have a black wife. So we are comparing a insignificant amount of cases to rarity, right? Which is interracial marriage, to something that happens consistently, which is black men and black women coming together. So it's like, it's not really a fair comparison because quite frankly, the sample sizes are not comparable. Okay. So it's like, let's start there. But secondly, even if that's true, even if black women are more likely to be married and stay married to white men, you bring the divorce level down for white men. White men divorce more when they marry black. They're actually better off marrying their own race of women or other races, right? So, but that's besides the point. Really, the bigger issue is try not to pedestalize these relationships, people. Try not to pedestalize them, okay? Because relationships can work if you date and marry out, and they absolutely cannot work if you date and marry out. This has everything to do with you and your understanding of what it really means to be married. What does it mean that two become one? What does it mean to enter into a covenant with God until death do you part? Or are you just seeing this as a business contract? Is this just something cute that you can maybe start your own Instagram or your TikTok account and maybe make money off of it? I mean, that's cute, but that's not going to sustain a marriage, okay? You still have to know how to get along with a person to be married, period. It doesn't just go away because the dude's white or not black. So, and in some cases, like I said, a person can end up costing a lot. They can end up having to spend a lot of money because just because he's white don't mean it's perfect. Okay. And I'm not saying this is necessarily what she did. I'm not saying that she did this just because she's white. Honestly, I didn't watch The Bachelorette. I didn't watch that season, so I'm not sure. Maybe they had a genuine love connection, whatever. But just my point is, ladies, we know that behind these interracial relationships, there's always propaganda, and there's always these stories that they like to push that are just not reflective of reality. Okay. So just don't get enamored. Don't get enamored by these interracial relationships. Just treat it like any other relationship. But no, ultimately, what's going to maintain a relationship is not the color of the dude's skin. Okay. It's going to be more so than anything, whether or not y'all actually have what it takes for a marriage to last. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far. And we'll talk later. Bye.